You may have worked out by now that we have set guests on set days of the week. And on Mondays, we get very excited. Well, we do for all our guests, but this one in particular, because it's such a practical thing that we do on the radio, we look forward to it. And I don't know about you, but I've learned so much over the last few weeks that we've been doing this. And genuinely, I'm not even saying this because he's here now on the line. When I speak to people, this is the one feature that they usually mention, and they say, I absolutely love that. In fact, just this weekend, and it always amazes me when people listen to the show. And the reason I say that is because I'm just sat here talking. And the fact that you'll have me on your smart speaker, you'll have me on your phone, and you're listening on your way to work, it always amazes me. But at church, an old lady came over to me and she said, are you ready, Chris? She said, oh, I do like that Chris from the college. I learned so much about what he tells me. And then she cracked a joke and she said, to be honest, I'm so old, maybe I could be one of the things that he features, which I think is absolutely incredible. So I promised her, I said, I will mention you. So if you are listening, Alison, good morning. And there we go.
Good morning, Alison.
And it leads us nicely into this morning's feature, which is called Digging in the Dirt. Oh, look, I found an Alison. And this is where Chris brings his two passions in life together. Plumbing and electricity. No, he brings his two passions together, archaeology and theology. Basically, anything that ends in eology, he is a big, big fan of. Campanology? Bell ringing, are you into that, Chris?
No, I'm not. You'll have to tell me more about campanology.
Well, funnily enough, and this is not me joking, I actually did used to do church bell ringing.
I'm amazed. Yeah.
And I've got a proper book which my grandma bought me because she was so proud that I was doing church bell ringing. So I can actually church bell ring, just to put that out there.
Okay.
But enough about me. We want to hear about some of these artifacts which are knocking around the globe. So last week, Chris, I think I said this wrong, actually. I think this morning I said that last week we spoke about the Elgin marbles. We did a bit, but that was not what the main feature was about. Tell us about last week.
Well, as I remember, we looked at the Rosetta Stone last week. And that was really interesting, actually, because I believe one of the listeners then went to the British Museum in London and actually had a look at the Rosetta Stone for real and could connect it to what we've been talking about on the radio.
So I think, I hope I can find the message.
Yeah, well, while you find it,
Okay.
I mean, I loved sharing with you on the Rosetta Stone, and it sparked off what I want to talk about today with you, because one of the things I find really, really intriguing, and always have done, are those beautiful little hieroglyphs, those lovely little symbols. I mean, at school, I remember we used to have to draw them. And then, obviously, on a trip to a museum, if you see those hieroglyphs, they're beautiful. And I just want to talk to you briefly about something that's going to make a connection to the Bible, which is really quite amazing. Did you find the message?
So it's from Susan B, and she sent this in last week. I think it was maybe Wednesday, and she said, my plans for my birthday fell through, so we decided to visit the Rosetta Stone. Thanks to Gareth and Chris for Monday's talk. Very enjoyable and educational.
Right. We aim to educate, not just fun.
So, Chris, what are we doing today?
Okay, so I'm going to show you now. This is a very beautiful copy of a hieroglyphic text that was drawn by my wife last night.
Okay.
Okay, this is what it is.
Wow.
Now, that's not bad, is it? Now, Gareth,
Your wife has drawn that?
Yes, I know.
Impressed with that. Using what?
Using what? Using a pen.
Yeah, but it's almost too sort of...
I know.
It's almost too sort of brush strokey to be a pen, if that makes sense.
I know. She is so good at this sort of thing. She is so good at this sort of thing. And she produced this because I wanted to be able to talk to you about just one little tiny bit of how hieroglyphs work. So I'm going to explain to you what this is in a moment, and I'm going to make a connection to the Bible, which is really interesting. But I suppose, as we usually do this, Gareth, it'd be good if you just want to describe as best you can what on earth we're looking at for those who are listening and aren't yet watching it online.
So, Chris is currently holding up, it looks like a cereal box shape.
Yeah.
And it's basically, it looks like it's an inner shield which has been drawn. And then inside we've got hieroglyphics. Now, I would not know where to start on there. There's one that looks like a wall. The top one, Chris, I'd say, yep, looks like a wall. The one next to that looks like some sort of knife, maybe some sort of blade. And then we've got a few other ones. One looks like a hook, maybe. And then we've got one that looks like a cage, something that you'd capture something in. The final one that I can see looks like a man who's almost sat down on the floor with his knees in the air, and he's got a cross attached to his knees in the air.
Brilliant. That's a great description, actually. Now, I mean, anyone listening to it may still be struggling to picture what we've been talking about, but you've got some beautiful hieroglyphs here, and these have been carved many, many, many times. So in lots of museums, you'll see exactly this set of hieroglyphs. And what we will do, while we're having our breakfast cereal, we're going to learn a couple of things about hieroglyphs that are going to be really useful next time you want to do a party trick. When you're out with friends and you see anything like this, you're going to be able to say a couple of things about hieroglyphs that will leave them really, really impressed. And also, in what you've just described there's a direct connection to the Bible. But we'll talk about that in a moment.
Can you imagine going to a party at Chris's house when he brings out the hieroglyphics and then everybody knows it's going to be a good night? In a moment, we're going to go through these and find out what they actually mean, because, do you know, I've never, ever learned any hieroglyphics in my life before. And this will be really interesting. If you have got any questions, as always, about hieroglyphics, then we would love to hear from you. You just get in touch with us on the usual details. You can find us on the website. You can find the number you need on our website, 0161 511 9555. It's really easy. If you're listening via the app, you just hit the WhatsApp logo and that will send you right through to us here. I'm a bit confused by all these hieroglyphics. It's knocked me off a bit, but we'll be back in a moment. We'll find out what they're all about. Introduced to me near enough when the radio station started. Now, don't get me wrong, it's hardly a new record, 2015, but my American mate, who, he won't mind me saying, he's got a dreadful taste in music. Absolutely awful. So if he ever says, oh, you want to be playing these on the radio, that is a sure sign to say you don't want to be playing them on the radio. So when he sent this over, every bone in my body wanted to just not play it. But I thought, I'll give it a go, and it's brilliant. Ben Rector and Brand New Day. It is Connect Radio, and we are here with our archaeological friend, Chris Sinkinson from Moorlands College. Now, just before we get started, actually, because you may not know what Moorlands College is all about. So, Chris, would you like to tell us, please, what do we need to know about Moorlands College?
Well, Moorlands College is a Christian ministry training college. We do run a BA in theology, degree in theology. We also run an MA, a master's course in theology, and a foundation year, and a number of other kind of evening classes and so on. But all of it centers around this theme of we want to equip men and women who are passionate about Jesus to impact the church and the world. That's our strapline. And what that means in practice is we want to train people so that they have the skills, the knowledge, the understanding of God's word, practical skills to be able to make a difference in our world. Graduates from Moorlands don't just go into pastoral ministry, though many do, and that's great, or youth work, though many go that way, but they will go into areas of chaplaincy work. Do you know chaplaincy is a growing area? We've got chaplains in prisons, in the army, schools, lots of different areas for chaplaincy work. And then other graduates go into what look like secular fields, whether it's in teaching or in the police or whatever. But that's fine, because all of that is part of impacting the world. So it's really a training program in Christian ministry that's relevant to any area of life, and that's what we do. We do it in person We have two sites, one down the southwest in Devon, and then our main location is near Bournemouth on the south coast. Beautiful location to study. But there are other ways of accessing our courses, and you don't have to be on site all the time. So we do have students who study all around the country, and that's going to be increasing actually in the next year or two. We're going to see lots more flexible ways of people engaging with the program. We've also had a site in Belfast, I should mention as well. So students studying in Northern Ireland. So we're about training people for ministry, Gareth. That's really the heart of what we do.
Moorlands.ac.uk is where you can head to. You can find out all about their courses. In fact, I once had a friend who was called Charlie, and he was a chaplain, and we used to call him Charlie Chaplaincy. Anyway, so let's get back. Let's get back to what we were talking about, which is actually, what's your wife called, Chris?
Ros.
So, Ros, can I just say thank you for your dedication to the breakfast show? Because Chris got her drawing up this here, which we'll just call it a shield, which has got all these sort of symbols on it. Now, they're not just called symbols. They are actually what the Egyptians used to use to write. They're called hieroglyphics, if you didn't know. Look at me sounding like I know anything about this field. So, in front of us here, and you will see this on the video when it's uploaded later, tell us the relevance of these, Chris, because surely they say something or they mean something.
They certainly do. And since the discovery of the Rosetta Stone that we talked about last time, these are readable. We know what they sound like, we know what they mean, and that is a really helpful way of then connecting this with the Bible. So, okay, first of all, we said it was a shield. Whenever you see that kind of oval shape, this shape on the outside, whenever you see that in a set of these hieroglyphic letters, you know you're looking at the name of a king. Okay, so it will always be the name of a king. It's called a cartouche, but anyway, it could be Cleopatra, it could be Ptolemy, whoever, but it's going to be the name of a king, Tutankhamun. Now, this particular king we know, and these all have sounds, the values of these letters. Now, I'm not going to do the ones at the top. That's part of the kind of significance of this person, but there's three here. The three here, sort of four really, but the three down at the bottom all sound out a name. And they actually go this way, not this way. Now, here's the first party trick thing to remember, listeners. Whenever you see hieroglyphs, they could go in any direction. They can go left or right. They can actually go up or down, but left or right is the main thing. They can go either way. So how do you know which way they go in? Whenever you see an animal or a person, they will always look in the direction they've come from. So that is looking that way. There's a snake there looking that way. So we know it's going this way. Okay, so you read it this way. Okay, right to left. So they can go the other way, but the animals will be looking in the other direction. So that's the first party trick. Okay, now these three letters, what are they? This is the sun, Ra. Okay, and that's where we get our word Ray from. So this is the Ra, sun. This is it's some reeds actually hanging down, but it's the letter M, and it doesn't look dissimilar to our M. So that's a Ra, that's a M, and this is a shepherd's crook, and that's S. So it's an R and an M and an S. They didn't bother much with vowels in the ancient world, A-E-I-O-U. Didn't really bother. They do use them a bit, but not much, because really, if you've got the main letters, you can guess what the middle bits are. You fill them in, you remember. So we've got an R, we've got an M, we've got an S. Put them together, stick some vowels in. What name might you have there? Gareth, what do you reckon? What name might you have? An R, an M, and an S?
Richard.
let's okay. Ramazah. Put some vowels in. Ramesses.
Ramesses.
Yes, exactly. You got it. Almost in one. Ramesses.
No, it was almost. I guess it. Even for the Egyptians, it must have been real guesswork because they had to work out the direction. They had to add little bits in to make it make sense.
Yeah, you kind of get used to it, though. I mean, they'd probably say the same about us. You know, they'd probably look at our alphabet and say, that's hard work. So, yeah, they'd work it out. And Ramesses, this is the name, Ramesses. Now, that's an Egyptian pharaoh, Ramesses. Some people think, I'm not so sure, but some people think that's the pharaoh at the time of Moses and the Exodus. And certainly the name Ramesses is in the Bible, in the book of Exodus. The name is used of a city, Pi Ramesses. So the name Ramesses is around at the time of Moses. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. The name Moses is not a Hebrew name. Like Abraham or Jacob or whatever. Moses is a Hebrew word. It means to draw out of the water. It's not really a name. However, it is an Egyptian name. And we know that because you're looking at it here. This is the Ma and this is the Sa that gives you Moses. The name Moses would have been written like that. This letter followed by this letter. And Ramesses just means born of or prince of the god Ra. Whereas Moses doesn't have that Ra bit. It's just Moses, prince or born of. It's actually a fairly common Egyptian name. And that proves to us that Moses really was in Egypt at the time of this whole ancient world of Egypt. He had an Egyptian name. And if you're in any museum anywhere, you're likely to have inscriptions to Ramesses because he was a very important pharaoh. So his name appears all over the place. Built lots of amazing, amazing buildings. And so if you look around, M and S, look for those two, and maybe the Ra, the sun as well, and this crouching figure, you'll be looking at the name Ramesses. Very common. And you can point out to your friend, second party trick, those two letters there, you know that name, Moses. One of the most very important names in the Bible. It's an Egyptian name. And as we read in the Bible, Acts chapter 7, verse 22, Moses was proficient in the language and literature of the Egyptians. So Moses could read this stuff, he could write this stuff, and there's his name. And you can see that in museums to this day.
Truly amazing. Can I just ask before you go, what's the relevance of the symbols at the top then? If we don't need them, why are they there?
Okay. It's a little, it's like, it's an inscription that says, beloved of Amun. Okay, there's another god. Okay. So it's a bit like saying, if I had the name Gareth down here, I might say, beloved of Connect Radio, Gareth.
Or National Treasure.
National Treasure, Gareth. Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
Soon to be Sir, Knight of the Realm, that kind. Oh, I see. Okay.
Imaginative and thoughtful.
Well, do you know what, Chris? That was so interesting. And I know a lot of people will be wanting to watch this back because of the visual aspect of it. And it really is amazing. Who would have known that we would have learned such a thing on the radio? So thank you to your marvelous wife for actually making the props. And thank you to you for telling us all about it.
Maybe one day we could do like a quiz thing where this could be the prize and we'll send somebody this as the prize with a copy of the book.
You could sign it.
I could sign it. Yes.
That's the thing. What a quiz that will be. In fact, maybe some sort of festive type thing we can do with that.
Christmas, yeah.
You could write all your Christmas cards using that sort of language. Chris.
Oh,
Thank you very, very much. And remember, this kind of interesting stuff, you will hear the passion that Chris has got for this. It's not just a job for him. This is what he loves to do. And, you could have him teaching you this weekdays, weekends, whenever it may be that your course happens with Moorlands College. Moorlands.ac.uk. Head over there. There's information. You can contact the team to find out about potential open days, to have a tour, and all the courses available and everything you need. Chris, thank you very much. You take care, and thanks again to your wife.
Thanks, Gareth. Thank you.